first major gig at the Cherry Tree before I left. Sometimes you can only really see clearly in your dreams.
So that was a sequence in Art's dream that involved the double bass. Now I've tried to reconstruct that effect to pull and stretch on a string, and it's proved to be really difficult. I had very limited luck trying to recreate that effect, and I put it out to Twitter, and quite a few really experienced dreamers had a go at trying to recreate the game mechanic with varied results. They all come up with slightly different methods of doing it, and I'd love to show them to you. Unfortunately, very few of them actually launched up their resulting experiments to Dreams publicly so that I can show you and send you a link. However, Y Ledbetter 10, he did launch his publicly, so I can show you that particular experiment, and you can see how difficult it is to actually make this particular mechanic. So here is Y Ledbetter 10's bass string test 2, attempt to recreate the Art's Dream bass strings. We'll play it, see what it does. There's a very weird bass string sound to start off with. I don't know if that's intentional. Okay, so we have our bass string, and I can grab it with my imp and pull, and when I let go it springs back. So there's a lot to be said about this particular build. There's a lot of it that does work, but if you look, depending on where I grab it, the imp isn't always grabbing the part that I'm pulling, and occasionally you don't get a note like that. And I've also had problems sometimes that it wouldn't grab either. So it's a bit of a weird one. It's a really complicated thing to try and do. So thanks for everybody who tried. Sloan Mackenzie, Goffman. Unfortunately, I can't show what you did, but let's have a look at the remix and have a look and see. So it starts off, you think, okay, this is going to be simple. Let's have a look. We've got a lookup rotator on a block, and a lookup rotator on a block, and a tag, and hang on. There's no music, there's no grab sensors, there's no nothing, so there must be something hiding. And we go into preview invisibility, and suddenly you can see the complexity of what is involved here. So we've got loads of microchips. These are all copies of the same microchip attached to these blocks. This is what you're actually grabbing. You're not grabbing the bass string itself, I don't think. You've got loads of followers here. I don't know what they're doing. They're sort of embedded into here somewhere. There's the tag looky, which is what these lookup rotators are looking for. I don't know what this does. This is a copy of all of this over here. I have no idea. It's all invisible, so I don't know if this is what this does, or it's obviously a live clone by the look of it. Maybe a mirror sculpt? I don't know. The microchips themselves, lots going on in there, and I'm not even going to begin to understand it. So we've got a grab sensor. There's some counters in there. There's some tags. These are our notes, which are played randomly, which is not what is going on in the game, because there's an actual piece of music that I think it's following. Lots of signal manipulators. So a keyframe doing something. I'm not going to go into it and try and work it out, but I think the principle here is that the bass line is actually lots and lots of separate bits, and you're grabbing separate bits and pulling, and the lookup rotator is moving all of the pieces where you're moving the grabbed piece, so that it looks like the whole thing is moving. along like a stretched line. It's a bit of a complicated one, but if you're interested in this, I'll put a link in the description so you can have a look at this particular experiment and see if it's something that would help you or interest you. There we go. So thank you for everybody who tried to help me out with the bass string. But I've decided to go another way. Right, so I'm going to do a very simplified version of the double bass sequence. Instead of having a stretchy string, we'll just have a fixed string. And I'll have every other bit of the game mechanic in there. So the music playing and the grabbing and the lighting up and the broken string. But we won't have the pulling. So let's see now, what do we do? I've made a sculpt for my string. Here it is here. It's a single sculpt and fitted it onto my double bass. I'm going to need to copy that a few times. So we're going to have 3 strings. So there are the strings on our double bass. I've also made a version of the string that's broken. I might actually tweak that a bit. So this is going to be our broken string, like so, like that. So that's what it's going to look like when it's broken. And we're going to deal with that at the end. So I'm going to put that out of the way so it doesn't interfere with what we're doing. Right, the first thing we need to do is to add some grab sensors. So I'm going to get a grab sensor. Oh, that's not a grab sensor. What am I doing? There it is. And we need 1 for each of these strings. So I'm going to get a sense grab. And I'm going to pop that on each of these strings in turn. Now you need to make sure that when you go into the properties, that grab has been selected. Otherwise, the grab sensor won't work because the object isn't grabbable. So make sure the object is grabbable. And there we have our grab sensors. Now we're going to put in our special effect, the glow. So we're going to use keyframes for this. So I'm going to pop in my keyframe, open up the tweak menu of my string, and just slide the glow along. I think 28 is about right. So I'm going to do that for every single one of the strings. So open up the tweak menu of this one. Let's close that one down. Make sure, because we don't want it picking up more than one string. So make sure you've only got one open at a time. There we go. Close down. String. 28. Close. And then we're going to wire those up from grabbed to the power. Right, so every time we grab one of these strings, it's going to light up. So let's test it out. Press play, and there we go. And it doesn't matter where I grab it on the string. That's working exactly as we want it to, so that's good. Okay, so that's the first bit done. Now we want to know whether any of these have been grabbed, because the sequence of music that we're going to play is not dependent on whether we're touching the correct string or not. We're not having to play the instrument. It doesn't matter which one you pluck, it's going to play the next note in the sequence. So we need to know if any of these are plucked. So I'm going to use an OR gate. And I'm going to say if that one is grabbed, or that one is grabbed, or that one is grabbed, then this is going to send a signal. And it's going to send a signal to a counter. Like so. This counter, I'm going to have 5 notes in my sequence. So I'm going to get up to note number 5. And this is going to affect a timeline where we're going to put our music in. So now I'm going to go into music mode and put in a music timeline. Open that up. We're going to have 5 seconds of music, and I'm going to go into search instruments and get the double upright bass, like so. Right. Now, in order to test this, it's much easier, rather than plucking at strings, is if I just for test purposes, is, whoops, come out there, put that microchip back up. I'm going to put in a controller sensor and make that remote controllable, and I'm going to wire the R1 button to our counter. So we're bypassing this, we're just going to press R1 to get it to move through the sequence. Then what we're going to do is that we're going to wire count progress to the playhead on our timeline. Now this, let me watch what happens when I press the R1 button. The timeline, the playhead, moves along like that. Let's do that again. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some notes along these bars, and that's going to be our piece of music. So I'm going to go in, so L1 and X, and then I'm going to choose piano roll. I'm going to do tools, draw notes, and I'm going to draw my notes. Whoops. Oh, everything's in the way. Hang on then. Hang on. Let's move this out of the way. It's getting all caught up in other things. Right. So, draw notes. And I'm holding down R2 and I'm going to drag a note across. There we go. So there are some notes. So now, if we try it out, and our final note, because this is going to be off, we're going to have to do separately. So we'll just copy our timeline. And we just want it to be short. And I want it to be that. Okay, so it's just going to be that note. Like so. Right, so that's our last note. And also I'm going to put a special effects sound in. So sound effects. I'm in the junk cupboard and I'm going to use mini bow pluck. So when this counter, which is set to 5, when this has got to number 5, it's going to play that sound effect and that final note. So let's just try that out with the R1 button. There we go. So that's gone through the sequence of the timeline, and then it's playing those last notes and that special effect. So I can delete that controller sensor now because I don't need that. And that's going to work now with our grab sensor. So let's try that out. Right, that's working lovely. So now we're going to put in our broken string. So we want the broken string to be glowing because it's going to be on our last note and we want it to glow. So we're going to put the 28% glow on that object. And I'm going to make this invisible. So I'm going to go to physical properties and make it invisible. And it's gone. So now we need to go into show and hide and untick that, and now we can see our invisible string. We're now going to create some broken string mechanics. So we're going to need some AND gates because we need to know which string is going to be broken. So I'm going to use an AND gate for each of those strings. And I'm going to say for all of them, is the counter full? So we're only going to play the broken string if the counter is full. And then we're going to put, is it string A that is grabbed, or string B that is grabbed, or C? There we go. So 1, 2, or 3, and then we've got 3 AND gates. So we're detecting which string is being grabbed last. And then we're going to put in a keyframe for each of the strings. So we've got 1 at the moment, so we're going to need to clone it a few times here. So we've got 3 now, and we'll put them in position over the strings. Like that. Like so. Right. Now I'm going to put some keyframes in. So keyframe. Our first string, we're going to go into its tweak menu, and we're going to make it visible. We're then going to open up the original string and then make that invisible. Close that down, press record, and then we're done. So there we go. Next one. Keyframe. Open that up. Make that visible. Open this one up. Make that invisible. Press record. Close them down. Next one. A lot of what of Dreams is just repeating the same code over and over and over again. So we're going into this one, making it visible, making the original string invisible, and then press record. Right, we're also going to make these keyframes keep changes, because we want the string to always be broken after we've finished. And so we go to result to there, result to there, result to there. And also when we've finished this, we want to go to our next scene. So I'm just going to pop down, just to simulate the fact that we're going to another scene, camera over here. There we go. And I'm going to put a timer in here so that there is a slight delay before we go to the next thing. Okay, so calculator there. And start timer. And we're going to say after half a second we're going to use the signal, and we're going to turn on this camera. Right then, let's see. Yep, that worked. Let's just, now there was a problem with the grabbing there. I don't know why. Let's do that again. That one's okay. That one's okay. That one's okay. So grab. Sometimes it doesn't want to grab, which is a little bit weird. There's something not quite right with the grab sensor. I think there is a bug with the grab sensor, but anyway, there you go. there is your bass. And there's a lot of technique in here that you could use. Moving along through a timeline just to play a single note can be very useful. So you can have your counter set, and you can set where you start your timeline. I mean, I've got it playing a single note on a sustain here, but you could have it playing a whole sequence using this method. So there you go. I hope that was useful. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in your dreams.